Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. So I am a first-year PhD student at MIT, and at this point, I probably have more questions than you do about the projects and the field, but I'll share what I know at this point. Today, sorry, how does this work? Next. Yes. Okay, so today my talk will center on the project of Liangzhu Culture Village. It is a new town planned for about 60,000 people at the periphery outskirts of Hangzhou, China. And Hangzhou, as you know, it's a touristic city. It's growing in the last decade. So a little bit background about China's urbanization. I think this morning there's enough background about it already. I'll just briefly touch on it. Since 1978, China's economic reform, the socialist market economy has taken over the centrally planned economy. And while the urban area expected to grow twice as fast the urban population during China's modernization and industrialization, there are both needs and tremendous economic opportunities for the government and investors to build new constructions, especially in major cities. Chinese real estate sector believes that 2002 to 2012 was the golden decade of real estate development in China. In some cases, housing market rate ran tenfold during that period, and problems such as housing bubble, overbuilding, ghost city have emerged. So today, the central government advocates developing the urban-rural fringe. It is arguably and probably partially for the government to maximize the employment of resources, including capital, land, and labor, in order to finance its future growth in a consumerist society. So in the Chinese context, what is a typical urban development? What could be a desired form of growth in future? So let's just take a look at this, and it's probably oversimplifying the process. We see the historical and traditional settlement influenced by feng shui philosophy with local characters, erased and replaced by modernized constructions that focus on maximizing profit and efficiency, and the meaning and the value constructed through design is undermining this typical development model. So today, the current government defined China's next stage of growth as a new normal, calling for creative, sustainable, and humanistic development, and urge a shift toward post-industrial civilization through sustainable design and development strategies. So under what circumstances do urban design impact the political and social formation of urban spaces and improve quality of life in China? So the recent project Liangzhu has been widely discussed, at least domestically. It is the flagship of China Vanke Company, one of the world's largest real estate developer. It is a demonstration of an unconventional form of town building for China, incorporating Chinese vernacular characteristics, existing cultural landmarks, promoting ecotourism, and building with new urban design strategies. So the master plan was done in collaboration mainly by the Vancouver firm Civitas in collaboration with Chinese and international design teams. And I think it started around 2003. I think it started around 2000, but the report was done in 2003. In total, around 4 years of site analysis and planning. And there's a lot of promotion of this project, as you can see here, in print, online, social media. It's promoted as a new pioneering living community, and according to its proponents, Liangzhu has incorporated innovative placemaking and community building strategies that promote everyday livelihoods, and that has generated social, ecological, and cultural capital derived from the local context. So is Liangzhu even meeting its proponents' claim, what is really different about Liangzhu compared to typical development in China? Do residents perceive these differences? In January 2016, I visited this town for the first time, and the image on the right is what I took. So briefly on the research method, during this visit, I had some research questions drafted, and I had planned for 3 kinds of methodological experiments, definitely observation, interviews with local residents and developers, also distribute user perception questionnaire. So I plan to compare this project with a traditional village and a typical housing development to understand how morphologically this project is unique. But after learning more about it, now I'm more interested in comparing this case with some other new towns in history, also in other parts of the world. For example, Park Forest in Illinois or Poundbury in Britain. And all these projects focus on creating an integrated community, providing all kinds of social services, and also they're located usually in or close to green fields at urban fringe. A little bit on the questionnaire I distributed. It's like a questionnaire also interviewed with local residents. And I've collected personal information. I asked about their opinion on the project. I also asked each person to try to score those variables as listed, but I think it's too complicated for some local residents. They have trouble understanding the definition. Currently, I'm exploring literature. It's definitely expanding, so I won't go into details here. I would just point out that there are some limitations of current literature. First, the intellectual discourse around China's urbanization issue has derived primarily from planners and policymakers, and urban design is poorly discussed, assessed, and theorized in China. Also, the existing literature on Liangzhu is limited, containing mostly descriptive and promotional materials. So I reframed my research questions, as you can see there, and there are some research findings at this stage. So the village, I would say, physically, the design has reformed the urban space. Liangzhu, it has demonstrated possibility of preserving open spaces for natural green and recreation to promote healthful lifestyle. And the public spaces designed, they're in many ways richer than the typical development, but currently it's under use because it's an ongoing project. And there are social meanings as well of this project. So I would just say local residents, they're the original residents who collectively own the land, and they were relocated next to the new developments. And both the new residents and the original residents, they actually appreciate this project because they feel it's special, they feel like they're pioneers. But also the original residents, they actually are provided with jobs at this new development site. They hope this project can be further developed. Oops, sorry. So my next step, I will certainly look into the original design document of this project, and I hope to revisit the site and maybe map the public life on site, and in future do comparative studies. And the broader implication, I would just say this study will provide better understanding of the politics of design, the Liangzhu, and bridge the gap of Chinese practice and Western theories. An appraisal of this unusual project shed light on the potential for reused solutions to the challenge of China urban development and the potential for urban design to improve ecological, social, and lifestyle varieties. My studies discourse is motivated by the need for progressive, sustainable, and equitable urbanism in developing contexts in Asia and in the world. And lastly, thank you very much for your attention.